All right, we've got a quorum. Ready to go? You want to start? Great. Welcome to the quarterly meeting of the Darien TV 79 Advisory Committee. First, we have the election of officers, since this is our first meeting of the new year, and since Mr. Cameron is the elder among us, you need to take over as acting chair for the elections.
Do we have any nominations for chair of the Darien TV Advisory Board?
Well, I nominate Mike if I can.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Are there any other nominations?
Thank you.
Hearing none, I would assume we can, by acclamation, approve Mr. Wheeler for another term as chairman of this board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we have to elect a clerk. Any nominations?
I nominate Dennis, who's done such a
AI
fun
makes it
job.
very easy, Dennis.
Yes, does a great job.
Don't look so happy.
Oh, do I need to accept? Or?
No.
Oh, we have to get a second.
It'll be forced to find you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Do I have a second the nomination?
Yes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Proud to do my civic duty.
Congratulations. All right, next item on the agenda, programming.
We have to
want
do
to
the
jump
appointment
to.
of program director.
Oh, isn't that automatic?
No, but I
I've
think it'd be
we
nice.
never had an appointment of program director before.
Does anybody have an objection?
I nominate Jim Cameron as program director of.
I second
that. All in favor?
Thank you.
Congratulations. So, Mr. Zagrasky here, I don't know if we want to change the agenda.
Is there anything you want to say to us this evening, or are you just here mostly to observe?
I'm here mostly to observe and to comment. I guess the only thing I would say that to start off was that I gave a talk, kind of one way, but I talked to the RTM last night, building on my rules committee meeting with them in the end of last year. And this pertained to an effort that we're launching for 2026 to do some updates to the town charter and ordinances. The spirit of these changes is around improving our volunteer experience. We've got a number of overlaps and inefficiencies in our committee and board structure that really has not been addressed in years, if not decades. And given the way things have advanced in terms of our town, but also in terms of technology and just the cadence of government life, if you will, that suggests that we really ought to take a close look at that. And if there's a way that we can rationalize some of that, again, with the idea being that we want to improve the volunteer experience so that when we have busy, smart people signing up to be on board or commission, that there is a clear mission for that and mandate for that board or commission. It doesn't overlap substantially with the responsibilities of other boards and commissions. And there's meaty substantive work for the people who volunteer to engage in and do, so they feel like it's worth their time. In my view, we don't have enough of that. So this project is going to take all of 2026. It's something that's not easy, but I think we can do it in a collaborative way. Ultimately, the changes are going to be the responsibility of the RTM, but I'll do what I can to try to help shepherd that process to where we get to a good outcome. It's a reminder, by the way, for this board, this entity, to start to take a look at their mission and charter and mandate with an eye towards improving the experience of not just the folks on this board, but also the many viewers who depend on you guys for, and mainly Jim, for news and information. So I'd like to work with you on helping to shape that, but I think it's something that over the course of this year you should start to think about, because I'm going to ask a question at some point to get your input as to what some changes might be that would help you.
So you're suggesting we might want to look at the operating guidelines that we work under and see if they need any updating?
I would say yes to all of that, and it can range from the overall mission and scope of the board to individual guidelines or certain ways you organize yourself, to the cadence and frequency of meetings, to how you're organized internally, to whether there's any overlap with any other boards, or even whether certain functions or activities should be split out or handled some other way. So I would encourage a broad and creative look at what you're doing, and no need to reinvent the wheel. Take a look at what other towns are doing and say, is there something we could learn from the way they've structured and they've organized themselves that we could copy here.
So one of the things philosophically I'd be interested in what your point of view is. You talked this morning at the department heads meeting about there's no news, there's no local news in Darien. And talking about the TV 79, Darien TV issue of a company trying to take over control of the public access channels so that Darien would have one channel, and it may have a Darien meeting, but it might have a Greenwich meeting, might have a Stanford meeting, but it wouldn't be a channel dedicated to Darien. You made the analogy that it's pretty much the Darien Times now. There might be one or two stories about Darien, but mostly it's stories about from other Hearst newspaper towns. So we've been aggressive in the last couple of years of adding our capabilities with the program guide that comes out on Friday and the Best of TV, Darien TV, that comes out on Saturday. To expand our reach to text and not video. It's taking our video and slicing and dicing it and distributing it in a different way. As some polls that Jim's done, we did a survey, and I did one with the Darien Men's Association yesterday. We clearly have a severe issue of people not understanding what Darien TV 79 is. That, you know, in at least the poll from the DMA, we come in second to last, you know, at 12%, where the Darien Times is at 48%. So should we be spending money marketing the information that we're distributing every Friday and Saturday to right now 1,200 people, and try to get that to 1,800 people or 2,000 people? I don't know. Do you know what offhand what the distribution is of your town newsletters?
About 46, 47.
And you finished second. As you see, the town newsletter, I think, finished second on the list, right?
Fourth actually. Yeah. So,
At 25%.
right.
So, you know, we're not going to build our audience to the linear channel. We've got to build audience through other media to people to watch the video. So philosophically, from a budgetary standpoint, should we spend money on Facebook advertising or social media advertising to increase the readership and viewership of our content in the interest of democracy?
I'm going to pull, I think, two questions out of what you said. I think the first one is really an important one because it's getting at the name of all this, which is Darien TV. All right? And I think taking a step back and saying, if we look at that kind of original mission, if you will, Darien TV, I think you want to run the risk of saying, if you're going to turn this into a broader news organization where you're doing television and it's one thing to say, well, we'll put out a guide of what's out there so that you can run down and click and see what you want to watch. I think it's something else entirely if that's migrating into kind of becoming the text or written news source.
It's repurposing our content, it's not reporting.
Yeah,
It's repurposing the content that's already on.
Yeah, and I think
Everything comes out of our videos.
Yeah,
There's
I
no
think,
original
I think if you
reporting.
start to go beyond sort of the guideline as to where to kind of get all that stuff, then you get into something that's different than TV. Not saying that you can't have that, but it's different than television. And one of the things that I've noticed is that when you have something where you've got overlapping strategies and multiple strategies, it's hard to stay known for something. And so one of the things, for instance, that I've tried to do with my newsletter is that it's the first Selectman newsletter. It's got a particular tone. I'm meticulous in writing it myself. I don't have staff write it. I don't know any of that. So it becomes a particular voice. And when people talk to me about it, what is motivating them to read that is they know it's my voice, and they know I take the time to make sure that this is going to be interesting content for them. And I built the risk of immodesty, a growing readership, because that's what people want to read about. They want to hear what I think about things. And so I would urge you just as a mission to say, what do you want to be known for? I think being known for TV first, because that's the original mission and sort of the critical key to this town, I think that's going to be pretty important to sort through. In terms of spending money on marketing, in parallel, we've been wondering how to build readership in the newsletter. Not so much that we have this great felt need for everybody to read the town newsletter or my newsletter. It's nice, but I don't live and die by that. It's much more that, to the earlier point, there's a lack of locally sourced news. And so that's kind of a written news format, and say, how can we get information out to the public? And so we thought about actually doing a campaign where we would do cards and send a card or some kind of notice to everyone who's got a physical address in town saying, as a reminder, because of the deterioration in local news coverage, we're trying to promote these other ways for you to stay informed about what's going on in town. Subscribing to the newsletter is a great way to do that. We could do the same with Darien TV, quite frankly, and build something to that.
How much does that cost?
So I'm actually getting that price right now. We're a town of about 7,200 residences.
Did you do a mailing like that in your campaign?
I ran unopposed, so we didn't spend the money to do that. Where we have good pricing for that is when the tax office will send out tax notifications. And so we're going to get pricing from them, but I want to see if we can do something a little bit better. Do we want to do just a card? Do we want to have something for people to open, to be more explicit about that? So I need another week to figure that out. I'll let you know. But we're thinking about trying to do something like that just to build readership so that people have better sources of news, and including Darien TV, whether it's a subscription or just pay. Don't forget, get signed up for the weekly program guide. I think we should combine that effort, and I'd like to incorporate that into this card if we send it out. But that would go to all town residents. So in terms of a budget for that, I think I may be your budget for that, because I'm not going to spend the money to do it, to build our readership. Let's include Darien TV in that.
That's great. Would you be willing to share your mailing list with us?
The town distribution list?
Yeah, the 46.
I don't have any trouble with that. The one, I'll check to make sure, I personally don't have any trouble with it. Let me make sure nobody else does. The one mailing list I've always dreamed of getting access to is the Parks and Rec mailing list, which is upwards of 30,000 people.
Jeez.
But they're very protective of that because they've made a covenant with their subscribers that they would not sell or distribute their mailing list, and we will respect that. So, but they have an enormous.
How was the town mailing list assembled?
Subscribers, people would send in that we'd like to subscribe to the town newsletter. So in my judgment, that Darien TV is news. So newsletter, televised news, same neighborhood.
And voter registration, all that, we can't have access to, like.
Well, the voter registration is going to be residences, right? So these
Right,
are
so
mailing
addresses.
addresses. And so that's actually what I would use.
Okay.
And in my authority, I can send anything out to residents of the town. So there'd be no reason for me not to send something by mail. And as a general matter, people are a lot less sensitive about that because, mailing addresses are a matter of public records. You can look people up.
Right. Okay, we might pick you up on that. Should we talk about the survey results?
Sure.
Okay, so I sent around a copy of this to all of you in advance. There was a dismal response. I mean, I can't tell you how disappointed I was despite extensive promotional efforts in the town newsletter. The At Home in Darien did a special mailing. The day after this was first opened for public participation, we had an RTM meeting, and I had a staffer pass out palm cards with a QR code to every single person that went into that RTM meeting, thinking that at some point during the meeting, something was going to be boring enough that they might want to fire up their phone and take a 2-minute survey. We only got 96 responses, so we didn't even get everybody on the RTM. Somebody who shall remain nameless on the RTM that Mike and I know basically said, but I don't watch TV, so I'm not going to take the survey. And I said, that's the point. We need to know. I know you watch the meetings, but I don't care if you watch them on your toaster, but we need to get your input. Anyhow, there were no real surprises, I think, in the results. Given that these people wanted to take the survey, I assume they were mostly pleased with the content that we've been providing. They watch on a daily or a weekly or occasional basis. The vast majority of the time they're watching because they want to stay informed or follow particular issues. They watch mostly in the evening. That's the largest part of the audience, which kind of makes sense as well too. The RTM scored very well in terms of most watched meetings. Board of Selectmen, Board of Ed was up there as well too. all the major ones. I was also pleased to see that Ask the First Selectman scored very well as well too, some of the short form social media posts as well. Most people either watched live or on demand. The people that only watched live were very, very small. I'm surprised they're even watching them as well too, live. They watch at home on everything from their TVs to iPads or computers. 1/3 watch on actual cable TV. About 45% come in through the website, 35% directly from YouTube. Some smaller numbers for Facebook posts as well too. Most people say they find it pretty easy to find what it is they're looking for. They depend on the program guide and the best of newsletter. Almost 80% of them cited those as the sources of what it is they chose to watch. They liked the newsletter. They found it to be useful and informative. We've been experimenting, as you know, with AI. I can't believe, Dennis, I mean, was it a year ago we started talking about AI? And what has happened in the past year? So kudos to you for bringing that up as an issue that we should become involved with. And more kudos to Mike over here for putting together such a great weekly newsletter.
And Carrie.
Best of. And Carrie, thank you very much. Sorry, Carrie.
It's okay.
Because I think it's doing well. People find it helpful, or they think it's okay, it's not great. A lot of people, though, under the comments said, I don't know where to find the AI summary, I'm not familiar with it. So again, that might be an education thing that we have to do on our part to show them where on the website version of a meeting or on the YouTube version of the meeting. They just have to, scroll down a little bit and you'll see a summary of the meeting with timestamps. And then our question, which mirrors what the DMA question was, how do you find local news in Darien? The Darien Times again scored very high, although we did slightly better than them. They had a 51%, we had a 58%. Patch, CT Insider, Examiner, Mirror, Stanford Advocate were also rans in there. And then the last question was open-ended, anything you'd like to add. Nice comments, nice kudos that were tossed in. Some people had suggestions on other things. They wanted to see a man on the street feature. Okay, thank you for the input. But as I said at the Board of Selectmen this morning when I presented the quarterly report, I don't think there were any real surprises in there, but I think it kind of confirmed our suspicions of what the viewership was like. I wish we'd had more responses so we could be more confident in what it was we had discovered, but I'm pleased with that. But before we move on to that larger discussion about promoting subscriptions, etc., I want to segue a little bit into the technology side because that is impacting our programming. We're in trouble technologically. Things are breaking down. We do not have somebody who can come in and troubleshoot and fix things. Jeff DeMayo, who works with the Board of Ed, came in and helped us take a look at the gremlin problem. I will address more specifically. We do not have a chief technology officer. He retired, moved out of town a couple years ago. No one is really maintaining our website. And I think we need to think about, redesigning that website as well too. But more importantly, we won't have meetings to do newsletters about if we can't fix stuff like this and make it work. So I love the newsletter because I think it drives eyeballs. But the thing we really need to do is to make sure that we're still putting out video content. And given that the technology in the booth up there hasn't really been touched in 5 years since we installed the caskets, and it is a complete rat's nest. Jeff DeMayo came up and was helping look at the audio mixer to deal with this audio problem. And he said, "Where's the wiring diagram?" I said, "The wiring diagram is in the head of the guy who installed this." So nobody knows where the wires are from, they're not labeled, nothing, is dependable in there. I would suggest, and Peter has a contact who works with Narodin Prez, right? Mm-hmm. He's a video guy up in Danbury. I would suggest asking him to come down, take a look at our operation, pay him for his time if he needs to, take him out to lunch, tell him what it is we need to do. But I think it may be time at some point, perhaps over the summer when things are lighter, to just rip everything out and start afresh. Wire it all up again so we know where everything goes. We can, solve problems if they arise. But I'm at the point now that we really need to address these issues, or we're going to have some major crash and burn. At the last meeting of this body, I invited each one of you on the advisory committee to come and watch a shoot in the booth. None of you have taken me up on that offer. How can you possibly understand what it's like to be sitting in that chair, pushing buttons on that box or up in the booth, if you haven't watched the process? I mean, you're all either from a broadcasting background. I would think that just being curious about how we cobble this all together, because it's very much cobbling together. I would love to have you come up, watch a meeting, empathize with the pain that we have to go through to put together a show, and from your professional background say, have you ever thought about doing this? Or why do you do this? Or why don't you do that? I need that input. I need to get some feedback from you as professional broadcasters. So please, do let me know when you would like to come and sit in on a meeting. You don't have to stay for a full 3-hour P&Z meeting. In the first 45 minutes of watching the setup, watching the meeting start, you'll get a sense of what the challenges are. So please, think about coming and taking a look at all this.
Well, when we rebuild, we really need to build for the 21st century. And the result would simplify the process, and the equipment has gotten so much. So it's, how do we get a proposal together to then go out and look for some grants to pay for it? We've got a couple who've said, when you have an idea, bring it to us. We always like what you're doing. And so we just need to put together a plan, but we need to discuss the plan of how far do we want to go. Do we want to go all the way into the 21st century? Or do we want to fall back on the latest broadcast equipment? But that's for a professional to ask those questions, just like the POCD asks the questions of what we think we want and what we think we need, and then draw up a plan.
If any of you all sign up for something like that, let me know, I'll come. I'd like to see it myself. And maybe I can help with budgeting.
So there's room for a presentation. I thought you wanted to go to the booth. There's only room for one in there.
He does.
All right, I'd like to do that. Maybe there's something we can do on the town budget side to consider that, and I'd be willing to go with you to somebody who helps with these kinds of grants and help you with the presentation. This is pretty important stuff.
Yeah, Jim is exactly right. We see it from the Zoom equipment that we've been able to embrace, how it's simplified, at least in 2 rooms, what we can do, and plus with all the virtual. But I would suggest that we could simplify the process dramatically with equipment today.
Let me know, I'd like to come see. Do you need me anymore?
No, you have places to go, I think, dinners to eat.
That's the next thing.
You don't want to be out every night?
It's almost every night, but that's okay. It's all good. Thank you all for what you're doing here. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
See you later.
Be good.
So Peter, would you contact your friend up in Danbury
Just maybe make a piece of.
and ask him to give us a call and see when he's coming down this
Yep.
way?
I'll have, I've got a guy to call you, and then do we want to ask Jeff to mail?
Jeff, I don't think is interested in doing a complete rewiring, but I could ask him.
Jeff works with the same guy in Danbury that
Yes.
we're talking about.
Right.
It's like what Jeff did for the auditorium is manage the process. He selected the vendors and managed the process. He didn't, he wouldn't wire anything, he just hired the guys that did it.
I did the same thing in the room.
Yeah, so, and I assume that the Rome studio was how long ago did you do it?
2019, 2020.
So it's outdated too.
No, it's actually, the decisions you make really determine the longevity of the equipment, and we've updated it since then, but it's in great shape, so there's no complaints. It's able to support what they're doing, no problem.
So, mentioning Jeff DeMeo. Oh, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, is that something we should go look at? Like, is that something you recommend?
It's a different use case. what we're really talking about is a control room that's managing recordings here, multiple recordings in some days perhaps. And I think the desire would be to automate as much of it as we could, right? Whether it's using Zoom or other technologies to sort of minimize the personnel costs related to producing the content, right? So if I think that's probably what we'd want to be focusing on for a build out, and then carrying that forward to the VOD and streaming and automating those workloads as best we can as well. So I think there's a lot of pieces that would be different than what a church would be doing necessarily, but certainly I think the same folks who are doing those kinds of installations would be valid possibilities for this too.
Did you use Local Live originally?
No.
They do the church down the street, don't they?
St. Luke's uses them, right?
Yes.
St. Louis.
Yeah. And First Pres Stanford does as well. Although I can tell you, watching my elderly parents do it, it can be an incredibly frustrating experience for them. So I would urge us to find a more straightforward platform than Local Live.
Well, they sold to NBC Sports Engine.
Jeff DeMeo. So we've been having this problem with audio gremlins, which many of you have heard. It is a distortion in the audio that starts, usually within the first 15 minutes of a meeting. It sounds garbled, but odd. I mean, you can hear the words that are being said, but something is clearly wrong. Am I describing it fairly
Yeah, I
accurately?
mean, sometimes it's snow and sometimes it's hiss.
Right.
And then it goes away.
So I thought this was an audio mixer problem. So I had Jeff come in, and Jeff looked at our audio mixer in the booth, which when you visit, you'll see, it's actually two mixers, two identical mixers, one for room 206 and one for the auditorium, room 213, and down below, identical mixers. Until Mike told me otherwise this past week, I thought it was a problem that was limited to 206. I thought this was the only place that this was a problem. And I thought, okay, great, it's got to be that audio mixer. Let's swap that audio mixer out, put a new one in, or a used one. Jeff had a friend who was going to give us a bargain price. Instead of $1,000, it was only going to be $430. We could swap a new one in. Jeff DeMeo would rewire it, etc., and we'd be off to the races. Well, Mike heard the same problem coming out of an auditorium shoot, which is a different mixer. And I said, okay, I don't think it's the mixers, it's somewhere down the audio chain, further. I don't know if it's the compressor, or the limiter, or the audio processor, etc., but that's why we need to have, a heart surgeon come in and clear the arteries and see what it is that it might be. So that's one example. I'm also concerned that our website it's a little kludgy. It has some positives to it, but it is completely tied to Vimeo. And I don't want to be beholden to Vimeo the rest of our lives. I don't think we need to. We've been using Vimeo for how many years now? 6 or 7 years, do you think it is?
Oh, longer than that.
Yeah.
That's where we started on demand, it's at least 10 years.
Okay.
Because I've been doing the YouTube site since 2019. You started with Vimeo in 2015.
Right, okay, so it's been 10 years we've been running the Vimeo, and we have 3,000 meetings on the Vimeo, 6 terabytes worth of meeting videos. I checked with the town clerk today, who checked with the state library, and we are not required, or the town, because we are part of the town in terms of providing video, we are not required to carry or retain access to meetings any longer than a year, and that's for land use meetings, or 6 months for general meetings, etc. So why are we keeping, 10 years worth of videos on there? Once a year, somebody comes to me saying, I'm looking for a Parks and Recreation meeting in 2019. I can't find it. I'll find it. I can find it and I can give it to them. But I don't think we need to be that archival repository of all of those old meetings anymore. Now, I do think, before we do anything with Vimeo, which we have recently paid another $900 a year just to keep things moving along. We're paying for all that memory that we're using on their site. I think we should download all the Vimeo meetings that are there. Just put it on a hard drive or do something with it. So in case we ever need to go back and look at it, we could find it if we wanted to. I'd hate to just like, erase it all. But because our website is Vimeo dependent, I think what we need to do is to look at it, at redesigning the website so it points to YouTube archives of our meetings. I think YouTube is going to be around a long time. There's no reason to be redundant and have some meetings available on the Vimeo and then port it over to the YouTube. And I'm hoping that there is probably some software template that's available for websites that are basically designed to showcase YouTube stuff. And the only problem I have with YouTube is it's a little hard to find things by keyword unless you ask exactly the right question. The beauty of the website as we have it now is it's all categorized. So you can go to our website and say, show me boards and commissions, show me the Blight Review Board, and you'll see thumbnails for each of the Blight Review Board meetings going back to 2019. I'd like to be able to find the same functionality on a YouTube template. So does anybody have experience designing websites or knowledge of prepackaged software packages like that?
I got a different question for you.
Yeah.
Given the survey results, both DMA as well as what John was observing and our survey results, I think there's a bigger question, and that is how many platforms should we be pointing people to, and how many newsletters should we be pointing people to? Right? I get both newsletters. From the time I started receiving both, the question in my head was, why are these coming on the same day in the same message instead of back to back?
I think they should.
It just creates noise for the users, and I think there's an advantage to us to simplify it, right?
Yeah.
I think they're good in terms of content, but I don't think there's any reason they need to be separate.
Agreed.
I think the same thing comes with the video platforms, whether, Optimum is there as long as Optimum is there, right? If it goes away, it goes away, but I think we have to have one place to direct people to. And I think what you're struggling with is we're not equipped as a team to build and manage websites, so why don't we just point everybody to YouTube? Facebook results were ridiculously low. Vimeo carries a cost. Let's just put all the eggs into the YouTube basket and point everybody to the one
Makes
place.
sense. I was actually shocked that the Facebook thing was so low. I thought that's where I see it sometimes.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Which simplifies a lot of what our mission would be.
Yeah. And you can, I just did a quick search, you can do tagging on content going into YouTube. So you can say, this is Parks and Rec, this is
It's all
RTM,
categorized.
this is-
Everything
yeah.
on our YouTube channel is already in every playlist.
Yep, but
For the last 6
you can
years.
tag each one, even beyond the playlist, you can tag each one so that somebody doing a quick search can find those tags and find the content fairly easily. So I think it's about how do we optimize search results within our YouTube library.
That's why I
as
went to
part of the
YouTube, because you
mission.
couldn't find anything on Vimeo.
Sure,
Right.
makes sense.
Sounds good to me. Would certainly simplify my job. Instead of uploading something, I upload it.
Right.
Then I send it to YouTube and Facebook, and then he downloads it and processes it
Yeah.
as well
You
too.
can still post to Facebook, but it can point people to the YouTube
Right.
content. You can
Mhm.
post wherever you want, as long as it's pointing to the one repository.
Jim, I thought one of the things you said tonight that was news to me was the archival needs, or
Right.
the legal archival needs. And I actually thought and supported the role of 79 as the archive of the town. But we should do it if it's not required, or we should be compensated for it. That's quite, if the town doesn't think that needs to say these things, and we're strapped in terms of what our calling is.
Mhm.
Maybe we should consider getting out of the archival business.
Well, I mean, the YouTube is archival in that regard, and it's redundant to what is on the Vimeo. You know, before Vimeo, we were recording every meeting to its own DVD, and over at the library, in the basement, there are boxes and boxes of DVDs of all of those old meetings. Now, I don't think anybody has come to the library asking for, you know, the 2011 meeting of the Board of Finance, but it's there if somebody wants to do it. I agree. I think we're making more work for ourselves. We're eating up our budget, being that town archive. And unless, I mean, I'll ask John again, or I could ask the town clerk, is there any reason that we should be being the archival site for all that stuff? And if you think we should be, then I think we could very easily go back. I mean,
We should have a contract with the town for that.
planning and zoning,
The township.
EPC, the land use boards, they rely on us because we are part of their compliance in terms of, they rely on us to shoot the meetings so that they can do their minutes, they can do their meeting summaries, they can point complainers or vendors to, there's the meeting, you can see what it was that happened in there. If we're providing that service to them, why aren't they contributing to our budget?
That's exactly right.
I think we should provide that service. I will say, just on the other side of this is, whatever we need to do to pay for it, the idea of open governance, and even the archive going from hot to cold worries me a little bit, because public access to me is such a big part of why we're here and what we do, right? And the idea that somebody could watch a meeting from 10 years ago for some historical value, I think matters. So I'm now getting long-winded, and I apologize.
No,
I want to hear
No,
this.
I think, I agree with you,
Yeah.
but I think that is a mission that we cannot do pro bono.
Yeah, it's also something that you need the town to chime in on, the town's attorneys to chime in on, because there's a liability element to that too. How long do they want us hanging on to things? So in corporate governance in large companies, we have retention rules, and we're not allowed to hang on to things for
That's right.
longer than a certain period of time because it's considered a liability. I would imagine the town would take that same view. You don't
Yeah,
want
the
to.
lawyers at CBS were very,
Yeah.
they wanted us to get rid of,
Absolutely.
and you had to do it routinely. So you weren't in contempt.
Yeah.
And that's true. So I keep wondering why. There's going to be lawsuits, and don't they want these?
Well, the archive
finance
of
meetings?
record is the written minutes.
Right,
Not
they
the
have to
video.
keep those forever. It's the minutes that have to be preserved forever, not videos of meetings.
But you think the video should be preserved too?
Yeah, it's the philosopher in me who's saying, spiritually, what should we do?
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and then if whatever the summum bonum is, I can work backwards and say, what do we need to legally do to have that happen?
Right.
But in a
At the
perfect
end of the
world,
day,
there would be an open archive of every meeting this town ever had.
Storage has
Provided by
gotten
someone,
so,
yeah.
storage has gotten so cheap, at the end of the day, that's not gonna be, we just download it on a big server and, it's just sitting there. The town has another issue that's separate, in that when we upgraded the website, the new website 2 years ago, they did not upload the minutes from previous meetings. So
Just the town
literally,
website.
there is no record online of any town or RTM meetings past 2 years ago. So when they were looking for something on, I can't remember, dog leashes, and wanted to go back and what was the dog leash ordinance suggested, we did a search, and Darien Times had done a story in 2011, and you could go back to that video of that, you could figure out exactly what meeting it was, because that wasn't in the minutes anymore, because they're in a file somewhere, but they're not online or searchable in any way. So the bigger issue is rebuilding for the future, so that we don't, so that the equipment is just easier to operate.
And logistically, we've been running Vimeo for longer than YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So there's essentially a YouTube archive with the assumption of everything that we continue to post should be fine there as long as it's our primary channel. Then there's a Vimeo archive, and then there's a hard data archive, right?
Right.
So right now the Vimeo spiritually matters to me most, because it's accessible, and we would potentially make it not accessible, right? So is there
Well, I don't think there's a middle ground. I think we could download all of those Vimeos and store them on the town computer, or see if the library wants to store them, because the library's into being an archival resource as well too. But I wouldn't want to just like toss them out, because there's a lot of time and money that was put into their creation.
Yep.
So I'm going to investigate, see what Mr. Zagrodzky thinks about this archival role that we play, and possibly incentivizing the land use boards to help make us whole. And I like the idea of just going with YouTube as our, source. It'd be our website.
And so do we shut down the website? Is that what you're suggesting?
I think when we're ready to make the larger transition, it's going to shut itself down at some point, and Cecil's not going to be up for coming in and trying to repair it.
So keep it till it breaks.
Yeah, it's kludgy, and it's expensive to operate, believe it or not, because our former CTO, Chief Technology Officer, is perhaps justifiably paranoid up the wazoo about security issues and things. So that thing is bulletproof. I mean, he's got software that's protecting us from ourselves and everybody that has malfeasance in their hearts, and it's far more complex and needs constant updates and costly software additions, where I'd just be happy to leave it to YouTube and let them, keep an eye on things in that regard. So we're going to talk to your guy in Danbury. He's going to come down and take a look at everything. Let's see if we can just solve that audio gremlin problem as well too. Deal with the maintenance of the booth and the rack and our chain. Yeah, the other question moving down under technology here, which was the use of Zoom in room 119, where we are now, and in room 206, to record some, not all meetings. The RTM meetings, I think, basically lend themselves to this kind of a recording process. And after this meeting is over with, I'll send you a link to what Ethan has been shooting over here, using 3 cameras and the microphone, and the same content as it was captured on the Zoom. Most RTM meetings are just people sitting around a table like this. We're not making presentations, we're not showing charts or graphs or speaking from podia, but I think if most of those conversations could be captured using this technology, which, by the way, in this room, that RoboCam was paid for, not the whiteboard. In 206, the whiteboard and its camera and its built-in Zoom were paid for using Area 9 grant money. So we paid for that, and I think we should be using it. The beauty of this is it's easier to edit. It means less work for our camera operators, unfortunately, but we're in a budget situation as well too, which I'll get to in a moment, where we need to start saving some money. So, the big important meetings, obviously RTM, P&Z, Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, the ones where the public comes and engages, Sewer Commission, Yeah, I think we could still staff those, but we're gonna come in budget cycle now with a lot of RTM meetings. How many committees are there? 6, 8, 7 different committees, each of which is gonna be meeting on a regular basis, especially as the budget is considered as well too. And we can save a chunk of money by using this technology. Mike knows how to set this up. He's been training the chairs of the various RTM committees. After the meeting tonight, we're gonna make a little training tape in here that he can distribute to people as well too. So I think it does the job. It certainly gives you the audio that you need to be able to do the newsletter and summarize what happens in these meetings. But, those RTM meetings have never really been exciting television people are going to tune in to watch. They're more interested in, the Finance and Budget Committee did what? What have they proposed on this? You know, they wanted, you know.
It's a little bit like watching a soccer game.
It's important though, because I think this is democracy. It's not sexy TV, but the democratic process, I think, is underway.
So we've
It's
got,
worth watching.
I'm sorry, we've got the RTM and 7 committees of the RTM, but then there's a number of commissions and others that we record as well, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
we record almost everything, and the more that they have been migrating back. After COVID, everybody came back and they were doing things in person. Now, half of the Board of Selectmen meetings are done on Zoom. A large number of meetings are, even RTM, Finance and Budget, they regularly meet on Zoom. Zoom is great for me, easy to download, easy to process, free in terms of production cost for us to do. So I think you're going to see more meetings migrating to that. Now, when we do this, we're doing this meeting right now in room 119. We're using Zoom, but only to record the meeting in this room. It's not a hybrid meeting, so we're not inviting members to join us on Zoom, although we could do that, and it
That's
would be
the purpose of the
recorded.
RTM, as long as current FOI rules are, as long as there's a public place where a member of the public can come to a meeting.
Right.
We can make it available virtually to committee members who are traveling and who are away, that we don't have to publicize a story about Zoom bombing. But starting Thursday night, the RTM is taking over the recording of all of their meetings. And there are other commissions that can be trained, there are people on, but, that's a different issue.
Yeah. Now, if you can look at Vimeo, you can look at YouTube, and you can see how many views our meetings get. Beautification Commission. Well-intentioned women, all women, they do good work in the community. If that meeting gets 3 views, every time we do a meeting, it costs me from our budget, at least $85. Camera operator, video editing time, I donate my time. Is it worth $85 to do a meeting that 3 people watch? I don't know, maybe I can encourage them to use the Zoom function as well too, because they usually meet in here. The wild card is that, sometimes you look at a meeting agenda and you go, oh, there's nothing gonna happen in here, and then lo and behold, did you hear what happened at this and such meeting? Somebody came in and said such and such. I don't wanna miss that, I wanna get, for archival purposes, there needs to be a record of what was discussed. What did they decide? Is it gonna be dahlias or roses this year, in the boxes?
So nuts and bolts, what would Zoom do to our bottom line? Or, if we're spending 85 prior, what are we spending post?
0.
85 is 0.
To 0.
Cost anything.
And what
Either
percentage?
using a town Zoom account, or people use their personal Zoom accounts if they're gonna hold a meeting, a committee.
So they're gonna record, we're gonna depend, they've been trained, right?
Mhm.
And then they submit video to us?
They just send me a download link. Yeah,
And he
they
goes in
were
and picks it up.
record to the cloud, they get an email after the meeting saying your meeting, what do they call it, contents or something, are ready.
Recording, yeah.
Process.
Recording is ready, they send it, they forward the email to me, and I can download it, and then I can, edit it gavel to gavel, put it
So
up
this
for
is
the website.
Zoom's cloud that they're,
Yeah, Zoom's
okay.
cloud,
So it's like their temporary storage cloud that they're, okay.
right,
And is it just one wide shot of the meeting the whole
Yes.
time?
yes. Now, that camera can be adjusted to pan, tilt, and zoom in a rather jerky fashion, but usually all you really want is to see everybody in the room and anybody who might be talking. There's a separate set of microphones in the ceiling for the Zoom function as well too. And, look at this meeting when we send it to you, and you'll see. It's adequate, it ain't great TV, but in some ways it's a little more exciting in these meeting rooms than watching, 17 thumbnails on the screen, each of them postage stamp size, and I can't tell who those people are. So when it's a meeting that's being done on Zoom, with all the members participating on Zoom, I encouraged people to use the speaker view as opposed to gallery view, so they're only gonna see whoever it is that's talking at that moment.
Although Zoom sends you both.
Yeah, they send,
Zoom sends you 2 videos of it, one in gallery and one in speaker.
yep, and a transcript as well too, and sometimes multiple, resolutions as well too. So the Zoom people have really, got their act down, so. That's, my intention is to move forward to try and save staff time and budget for the really important meetings. Did we talk enough about the subscriptions to newsletters?
Well, I think we need to talk about how, there are other ways to market that we don't have to spend money, but what, is it important to raise the viewership, the readership of the newsletters? And if so, we've lost, since we started doing the newsletters, we've lost 30 out of 1,200. So we're down to 1,171 subscribers. So very, very few. The only people who've unsubscribed or are people who were getting it through their Darien
DarienCT.gov.
CW, and they've left, they're not working for the town or the Board of Education anymore. And so, like Dr. Abbey, he's a former subscriber. That they love, but we're not doing anything to build it. We're not doing anything to really promote it. And it's amazing how the 2 newsletters, and I would argue, I would push back a little bit, just like Puck has several different newsletters, and you can't put all of the stuff in the programming guide and the best of TV 79 in one newsletter. It's too much. Newsletters have to be, it's designed to be a 3-minute read. You can't put 10 minutes into a 3-minute read. So you'd have to change how they're positioned, but that's a discussion for another time. But what are ideas that people have that we can do to market? We certainly marketed the survey. What are plans, what ideas do people have that we can market the newsletters? Because it's ironic that they do almost the exact same readership. It's down to less than 1% out of 60%. The difference week in, week out is literally less than. So the audience is extremely loyal. It's just not growing.
Right, but aren't we seeing an influx of newcomers into town with all these apartments and condos being built?
I think there's a larger issue, which is people don't know that we exist.
That's what I'm saying. Don't you think we need to go after certainly the people that live here and don't know we exist, but how about the people who are moving here and absolutely don't know that even Darien TV exists?
We have had this conversation for
I know,
years.
For years.
And one of the things that we've discussed is, how do you reach newcomers? Would one of you like to work talking to the real estate agents in town or the board of realtors, et cetera, and find if there's some way, absent a welcome wagon? I don't think there is a welcome wagon anymore, but there's gotta be, these are the people that are in touch with the newcomers when they come to town. And the Board of Education. Now, the Board of Education, is they're moving here because they want to put their kids in the school system. So, Board of Education, just look at the viewership numbers for a Board of Education meeting. Hundreds. I mean, you can watch a meeting live and you can see that there's 300 people tuning in. 300 people, okay? Well, with good reason. They want to make sure their kid's going to get the education they came and they're paying taxes for. But we need to find a way. Real estate agents are the one thing that kind of comes to mind with me, but they have the connections. Is there a way of educating them so that they can educate people, when they're saying, oh, look, when you come to Darien, we got a beautiful Y down here, we got a library, oh, we even have a town TV station so you can find out what's going on with your tax dollars, etc. We should be part of the sizzle of
Do
this.
you think we need boots on the ground, like events that go on in town, that we should have some presence, whether it's it's the interns who are there, or it's us who are there, or there's some kind of paperwork that's there. I feel like there's all kinds of things that go on in this town every night, and how do we tap into that?
There are a lot of different groups. There's 2 to the Darien Board of Realtors. Would they send out things to real estate agents? I don't know, but but it exists. There's the Republican Town Committee, there's the Democratic Town Committee, there's the Darien Chamber of Commerce, there's assisted living centers, there's At Home in Darien, there's the Mathers Center. There are a lot of, we just need a subcommittee who's going to focus on marketing like we did on the survey that Jim got published virtually everywhere. I mean, I was looking for a billboard, with a QR code on the side of a, shined up on the side of the thing. I mean, it showed up freaking everywhere, that survey. But
For
those.
3 weeks.
Huh?
For 3 weeks.
Yeah, for
And
those.
it garnered 96 responses.
Yeah, so
I think that's the point. I would actually recommend not a blunderbuss approach. And I think the best thing I heard tonight was direct mail. And I think it should be a separate direct mail, by the way, not piggybacking off of his newsletter. I think a direct mail, and I have no idea how much that costs.
It'll cost him $8,000.
$8,000?
I don't know what he gets the discount. We did a District 2 meeting 10 years ago that we sent to everyone who lived in District 2, and it cost $2,000. And that was just one of 6 districts. Now, the town paid for it. We couldn't believe the town paid for it, but the clerk at the time says, yeah, it's any communication to town, sure, we'll pay. So fortunately, only one other district jumped on board and did a meeting of constituents.
So
in the district.
theoretically, we can get the town to pay for this. But he suggested that he would.
Yeah.
He did say that.
But if we piggyback
If
on
we
his
go with
message,
it, yeah.
I don't think he's saying he would do a separate
Separate.
mailing
Yeah,
for us.
and that was a District 2, it was an RTM-related expense.
I mean, until I saw the results of Facebook, I would have suggested Facebook, but that's a waste of money.
Yeah.
It's not cheap anymore either.
And it's,
I did $25 on one, and it went from 10 views to 100 views.
So,
Jim and I played around a couple of years ago.
well, I think a very effective direct mail thing. People are used to seeing that. If it's well-written, it gets people, if we believe that the mission is sexy enough, a direct mail could be very effective.
Right.
so I think one of the questions is, what's reasonable to expect for viewership? Because we're talking about town government, right? And even the RTM has a hard time filling all of the chairs in the RTM. So it's not like we're gonna have, there are 7,000 households. It's not like we can expect 7,000 households to be watching Darien TV, because there's just gonna be some percentage of them that just don't care, right? They just want to live in town, they want to do their thing, and then there's some percentage that are very passionate
Well,
about town
and
government
I
wanna
think
be involved.
you should pick your poison in
Yeah.
terms of what, the beautification committee's not gonna get the numbers, are they?
100%.
But so if you wanna compare apples and apples, it would either be RTM or Board of
Yeah.
Selectmen.
Yeah,
Our templates, our mission is to get the information out that happens in
Mhm.
government meetings
absolutely.
in whatever form the resident wants to consume it. So to say, well, we're gonna build viewership, we have to build awareness. I see no reason why, unless Darien Times has 48% awareness, I don't see any reason why our product can't get to that same level of awareness. But it's not
Especially
the awareness,
since-
they can't use
especially
it,
since they
they
don't
aren't
get
aware of it,
it.
they have to use it. So we gotta get the awareness up, then worry about whether they use it. But,
Okay.
if they watch more of our meetings on video, that's great. I want them to get the information that's going on I want them to know that there was the first Beazle case in Connecticut. And, there's so many nuggets that come out of these meetings that are not only interesting, but important for people to know. But I don't want to get focused in on we only have one template, we have broader templates to get the information out to people.
I would, if it were me, there would be 2 things. One, I think a mass mailing every X amount of years makes sense. Whatever the turnover in the real estate in town is, 7, 10, whatever, it makes sense to say, we send out one pulse every X amount of years to remind people we're here, right? Then you can do the whisper campaign on top of that, right, to maintain or keep it going. The other thing I'm thinking about is, the discussion of our two consumers, right? We've got a newsletter consumer who's sort of an omni-townie, and then you've got these, sort of single stock, right? I only want to see the Board of Ed meetings. I only need to see my RTM meetings that I'm on the subcommittee for. And to me, that second stock is maybe the stock that I would try to actually grow a little bit, or it might be the one that's a little less aware that we have this service, right? And so I guess one question I have is, does YouTube amplification help in any way? Like, Facebook would, amplify whatever we want to do.
And I have two.
I just don't know how
I
they
have two committee
what their
chairs who
model is.
I've taught how to set up YouTube on their TV. And if you go to YouTube on TV, last night, we just finished the Darien RTN meeting, and I went in and turned on my TV, and there was the live feed of the RTN.
Well, the algorithm hits me. I mean, it'll throw me stuff that I'm not looking for because it somehow knows, right? And I think if we're moving towards YouTube, and over the course of 10, 20 years, right, our younger population is going to be, so much is now YouTube TV and all this stuff that, I think it pays to get those subscribers earlier, if that kind of makes sense, right? By catering to the technology that they're more likely to be on, right? I don't think they're turning on, Darien TV on the cable box, like.
They're not gonna watch 2 hour meetings.
They don't have cable.
They're gonna watch 2 hour meetings.
So,
Just like C-SPAN.
I guess I would say rather than growing the newsletter, you could put a little link to the newsletter in every YouTube video that you post, right? As part of the byline.
You are good.
And then just say, okay, how can we increase our YouTube channel size? That would be where my head would kind of be.
And leverage the town's website too, right? There's every department listed on the town's website. There should probably be something about, here's the link to the Darien TV YouTube page.
We're on
if you
there.
want to see meetings or.
We have our page in there, and all the links are there.
Yeah, it is there.
Okay.
If you go into the search function and just at the top of the Darien Town website, and type in Darien TV 79 or Darien TV.
It's just the days of the destination website are over.
Yeah. No, I agree.
People want the information sent to them, or easily, or to be easily
Or fed
discovered.
through a subscription on YouTube,
Or it's easily discovered. YouTube does it for me at night.
Yeah.
It only gives me 7 things to watch. The most valuable subscription. Does anyone know, is the YouTube premium subscription, so you don't have to listen to a commercial every
Yep, absolutely.
It's the best $14 I spend.
You
That I don't have to,
can actually buy time.
actually, I can.
Okay, should we move on?
So we're gonna
I like-
find 2 or 3 people to give us a recommendation on what it would be to update the plant. What's your timetable? You're gonna find out what it would cost to just download all the stuff and maybe the town would pay for it. I mean, maybe George can, or I don't know who controls the servers, that they can give us the server capacity, so we don't have to go out and buy that. And then you have to make the decision of when you wanna make the leap to YouTube.
Yeah, I gotta find out. Something tells me Vimeo's not gonna allow me to download everything that we've uploaded since.
Oh, it's your data, yes they will.
Yeah, but they're not gonna make it easy.
File by
just
file.
suspicion, I think, yeah, go ahead, it's there, file by file. There's gotta be, I will find out from what's going on with Vimeo. The other thing that we need to download is, and William Castell pointed this out, the Castus that's sitting up in the booth up there has about 300 shows in there. Not only the current, most recent meetings and things like that, but all kinds of evergreen stuff, promos, bumpers, PSAs, etc. And it's never been backed up. So if something happens to that Castus, we're in deep doo-doo. So I'm gonna try and find out from Castus. There I think there is an easy way for them to tell us how to, plug in a 2 terabyte drive and push go and come back in about a day.
I think that goes to the other question that you and I had a brief conversation offline about, and that is, if people are watching mostly VOD, do you need to be programming the live channel on a 24/7 day or 4 hours a day or whatever the loop is?
So, yes, that is a good conversation, and I've already made a decision that nobody is watching us live.
So then it doesn't matter if those
It's just
things are
in.
saved necessarily.
But, so I don't hand curate a different rotation every evening in
Yeah.
prime time.
Yeah.
I try to mix it up so that you're not gonna see the same meeting at 8 o'clock for 5 nights in a row. You know, it'll be, starting at 8 o'clock, you'll see that meeting, and then the next night it'll start at 10 o'clock. So there'll be, you know, if your habitual viewing pattern is consistent, then you're gonna see different content on there. But I do think that Altice, Cablevision, Optimum, they're the ones that brought us to the party. They're the ones that give us the grant money. And we do have to keep that stream going. We have to keep
Fair.
that TV station on the air, even if nobody is watching live. So I'm gonna take responsibility for finding about downloading the Vimeos and everything that's on the Castus. You want an update on Nutmeg? I have news. I don't think we've met since, did we talk about Nutmeg when we were here last time?
The notice here.
Yes.
Okay.
We talked about
Yeah,
it
we
in
did.
Okay,
one
we
of our
did.
meetings.
Okay. So, nothing much has happened until just this past week with the application by Nutmeg to basically take over the operation of all the public educational and government stations in what we call Area 9 down here. All the towns from Greenwich to Westport up to the 3 Ws. And that includes us. This company called Nutmeg is filing the similar application in multiple franchises across the state, Comcast, Altice, et cetera, et cetera. Altice met with them and said, you know, we got a pretty good model going down here in Area 9 with the town-specific channels. Are you going to continue that? And they went, no, we're not going to continue that. We're going to take that programming, we're going to homogenize it like Hearst does with news. And Altice basically said, boy, are you serious about doing that? And they said, we're damn right serious, we're going to do it. And so they're not backing off, even though we're telling them we're going to protest and state our case. And I think we have a very good case before PURE, the Public Utilities Regulatory Agency. I think we got a pretty good argument to say, keep the model that we're using now. Town-specific has got to be better than homogenizing everything. Especially for towns like ours that really do a good job of covering everything. There are other towns in Area 9 where if they cover 1 meeting, 2 meetings a week, it's a lot. We cover 10, 12 meetings a week if there are that many meetings. So the docket has been opened. There is going to be a hearing in March. The hearing date was just announced tentatively for March 19th. And I haven't talked to the chairman of Area 9 Cable Council, Hal Levy, since this dropped in my mailbox today. But I think he's going to go up and make testimony. I may come up and go up to Hartford and join him and argue that what we're doing should not be meddled with and that we should be allowed to continue our operation. If, and at that point, somewhere around there is when we and all the other towns who have been following this closely and hopefully have been getting their ducks in line are going to be able to launch a massive email letter writing campaign to be part of this docket. Satisfied viewers who are going to send in a letter and say, you know, save Darien TV 79, keep the town-specific channel. I think the more feedback like that PURE gets, I think the stronger our argument is going to be that we're doing something successful. First Selectman Zagrodzky has volunteered that he will go up and testify if necessary as well too. And I think that, you know, the more we can tap into the the boards, the commissions, the folks that I've interviewed for the Community Matters show or inside Town Hall, I think the stronger our argument is going to be. I think we'll be victorious, but I think it's going to be a lot of work that we have to do in a short period of time.
The only thing, it's the $8,000 that we want to protect, but other than that, it doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make any difference.
Well, it's more than the $8,000, it's the town-specific model.
But if they're not watching it now, we can have our town-specific model on YouTube.
Well, we would be the
We don't have our
town-specific
town-specific model on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and we really have no idea who's watching the linear
And
channel.
would we be able to prohibit them from using our product?
Well, it's public meetings, but they can come in and shoot.
Well, they'd have to set up their own product.
They'd have to.
Yeah, and I don't know if...
I don't think they're willing to do that.
we haven't had a direct conversation with them to find out if they would pay us for the coverage that we would provide to them. I mean, if we keep covering meetings, which we will do, whether it's, for YouTube or the linear channel, even on a homogenized basis, I'm not gonna give them our meetings for free so that they can make a buck off. The only reason Nutmeg seems to be doing this is there's about $100,000 a year that they can pick up per franchise that was going to Area 9 that would go to Nutmeg instead.
And by the way, the Verizon Frontier deal closed last week. So I guess those who have Frontier are getting things in the mail saying, you're now a Verizon customer. But, and whether or not, Tracy is still trying to figure out if Darien 9 is going to get any money from Verizon through Frontier. Now, they don't offer video packages, they just offer broadband, and right now broadband isn't covered under the franchise fee, but they were trying to make it part of the franchise fee.
Frontier has been sharing money with Area 9 collected from its cable subscribers, even though they were DSL, I think, or
Yeah.
Twisted Pair or something. We have been getting some money each year, Area 9 has. As we get money from Altice, we've been getting some money from Frontier and distributing that as well.
Just out of curiosity, who has Optimum?
Oh, I still do, yeah.
So you two do?
It's dying, you can watch it die.
And who's got Frontier?
Seriously, all
But not for video,
the
just
channels
for-
are
just
no
for
data,
video.
there's a whole bunch, the whole 200 channels
Real.
are no data. They're dying, it's dying, yeah.
Yeah, so of this group, 4 out of 6 use Frontier
Yeah.
for broadband and internet access, and then YouTube TV or Hulu or something like that. So that's going to affect the Area 9 money too.
Sure.
Unless they're able to change the agreement where they have to start paying us on our internet usage and not just on the video usage.
The scary thing about Nutmeg is that they could claw back all the equipment that we have purchased using Area 9 grant money over the
I
years.
can't mention this legally.
I can't imagine they would do it.
It wouldn't be
Why would they
useful.
want it?
It wouldn't be
And what would they be
useful for
doing
them.
with that?
Because every time we'll have different equipment, so there's
Yeah.
not.
You can't
We all
claw
just
back.
take something home.
I'd be happy to give them a bunch of hard drive
It's 'cause-
recorders that are sitting up in the box waiting to go to the swap shop or something.
Well, we'll know more in March, right?
I think we will know more in March, and I'll let each of you know, and I may ask you to write a quick note as well too. I mean, I'm the vice chair of Area 9 Cable Council, and what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna put together, because some of our members,
Public.
they need help, okay? I'm gonna put together some template letters and give it to them to say, fill in the blanks and send this to your first selectman, and fill in the blanks and send this to your local community groups, citing the docket number, here's the kind of letter that we need in terms of support from you. It's gonna be a grassroots support effort, but it's gonna need a lot of fertilizer to, have the green shoots rise up.
You did the same thing when they tried to change us to
Yeah.
channel 1300, which they did.
1310.
1310, and then changed
Great
it back.
frequency.
You gave them some nice form letters.
Yeah, yeah, and that seemed to work. I mean,
Yeah.
it turns out that the reason they moved us back from 1310 to 79 was not just the result of our campaign.
They had nothing else to put there.
Our outreach, no, but also because they had done this franchise-wide. They had done this in all their other franchises, and there was a you-know-what storm that arose in enough areas and communities that they went back and they said, maybe we should just kind of rethink this for a little bit, but as you say, they're in
bad shape.
They're in bad shape. They're in bad shape.
Cable is dying.
Who's runs Nutmeg? Are they ex-TV folk, or like, is this someone who's goes around looking for government grant money in between public-private partnerships? Like, what?
I haven't met them, but they have been doing this up in the Farmington area successfully in one franchise. And I think they're just saying, you know, hey, if it works in Farmington, why don't we, you know, do it, you know, elsewhere. I mean, their cost, in, I guess, in terms of filing these appeals and dockets is just a legal cost. And, you know, who knows, maybe they'll be victorious. Maybe in some franchise areas where the towns are not putting out enough content or not covering their local governments as ambitiously as we try to, maybe that's a model that would work, you know? But not here in Area 9. I think we're gonna make a strong case.
It's only a way to spend less than the franchise fees get you to make a living. They're not looking at any public service, they're just looking at a way to take taxpayer money to live off of and deliver the product for less than they're getting.
Yeah.
It's not
Cable subscriber money, not
cable
taxpayer
subscriber money.
money.
Yeah, it's not.
Budget update?
Saving good news for last.
Yeah. I had a nice meeting with the finance director today, and he corrected some scary numbers that he had given me, because it looked at one point as if we had maybe 2 months worth of budget left for camera operators. Hence my thrifty newfound love for Zoom meetings, for RTM committees. And the fiscal year runs through the end of June, and we're just entering budget cycle. We have found some more money. We're going to be able to get through this fiscal year just fine. But I deliberately kept our ask for the past fiscal year that we're in now low to try to draw down some previously allocated grant money from Area 9, specifically for camera operators. But I don't want to burn through all of that. So I'm being, as I say, rather thrifty with spending our camera operator money. As great a job as Ethan and the rest of the members of the team do. I think that we're going to save it for, as you say, you know, more community events as well too. I think the more we can get out in the community and be visible at things like the winter park and winter weekend in the park, or the things that the Parks and Rec does down at the beach and things like that as well too. You know, we don't have a mobile unit with, you know, huge signs at the side of it that we can start doing remotes from, but even just, you know, seeing kids wearing the hat.
Well, Memorial Day Parade, cover that.
Memorial Day Parade,
Yeah.
yep. So I want to get out and beef that. I want to beef up the community side of things as much as we can as well too. So budget's going to be okay through the end of the fiscal year. New business?
No, I got the thing in front of me.
Okay.
So we need a new member.
Yes.
You know, you talked to Richards and is Alex still the head of the Republican Committee? I don't know who the head of the, and the first selectman has just designated an unaffiliated RTM member to be an outlet for unaffiliated, because most of the people registered in the town now are unaffiliated, not if you read John's newsletter. I thought it was fascinating of how registration has changed. So there's a whole group of unaffiliated voters who they don't hear about spots that are open. They don't. So anybody have any ideas? Any friends? Anyone who's been in the business, who's retiring or have more time on their hands? Think about it.
There's a new member of the RTM.
I know,
John
just
Flippin.
before, yeah. He needs to get through his F&B orientation, but my plan is after the F&B budget is to
Good.
call him up. But we got to put him on F&B, which is,
He works for YouTube.
but he's been working at YouTube since 2007.
He's a lawyer. That's okay, I won't hold that against them.
So we need to find a new member.
But, you know, I've been beating on the RTC and the DTC going, there's gotta be somebody who wants to get involved, who's been coming to you, and, you know, no, not everybody's gonna get, to run for Board of Education out of the box, but pay your dues, do some of these other boards and commissions. You know, if they're not from a strong broadcasting background, marketing, advertising, anything like that, just, you know, keep us in mind, but we're not at the top of their priority list, shall we say. But I think the more we just, I mean, Peter over here, I mean, I didn't know that Peter existed in town. I just happened to meet, Mr. Zagrodsky happened to mention, oh yeah, that picture was taken by my friend who works for Amazon. What? And he came out of broadcasting. What? You didn't tell me about him? So we were able to, you know, snare him in as well too. So just keep your eyes open. We need one more member to round out our party, and it could be an unaffiliated, it could be a Republican, it could be a Democrat.
But I really would like to find someone with some industry knowledge.
Yes,
Um,
that'd be ideal.
So, no one's here from the public for any comment. The minutes were sent out. I didn't get any feedback in terms of any changes from the last meeting, because Dennis, you weren't here at the last meeting.
On a motion to approve?
Yeah.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody else have anything to bring up?
I will look forward to hearing from you when you'd like to come down and watch us shoot. By all
Has
means.
it changed much since I gave you that Chiron equipment? That's when I saw it.
We have no Chiron.
You know, we should all come at the
Use
same
PowerPoint.
time.
Come on.
Can't fit.
That's right.
All right,
Yeah, there's a
I got
fire marshal.
We have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.